Hello, pheanoblack here again at the Fab World Championships at Osaka, and you just have to top every event you go to, can't you? You just can't let anyone else have any money.
Not every event, and I stopped at top 8 this time, you know?
That's true, it's true. You left some tendies on the table for other people.
Yeah.
I like the storyline, though, of you got caught, you got that fire under your butt from not getting shouted out by James White, and now now I gotta really put in the serious work and top.
I got shouted out in a negative way, I feel like.
So we have Michael Hamilton, who just got top 8 at the World Championships, and Michael, what'd you play?
I played New Alluring Desire, not just any old New, played Count Your Blessings New.
Ugh. Count your blessings? All right, so why count your blessings? Why'd you bring this to the event?
All right, so the biggest reason is when you're playing New, you go, I attack with my thing, and your opponent's like, my hand's not gonna work if you take a card from it. Maybe I'll just block with all my hand. I won't take any damage. Maybe I'll keep one card arsenal set up, and then you won't be able to do anything because all you can do is just pump that attack. So let's say you attack with one of these Persuasive Prognoses, for example. You attack with it. If your opponent blocks with 3 cards, now if your hand has a Count Your Blessings in it, you can just pitch it blue, play Count Your Blessings, gain a bunch of life, and then that's just a great exchange for you, where you're gaining life and you're stopping your opponent from doing anything proactive.
And you get like a bit of implied value of the overblock value on what they did.
Yeah, and the other line is maybe you also have a Just the Nick in your hand, and let's say your opponent doesn't block it, or your opponent blocks with 1 card or just a piece of armor to stop it if you don't pump it. Then you can just play out a Just the Nick instead, and your opponent's kind of stuck in this guessing game where they don't know whether you don't have any reactions, you're just going to gain life, or you do have reactions and you're going to push it over.
That's very true. What made you decide to bring this, though? Opposed to just like a normal New or anything else even?
So New was never in my consideration for heroes I would play. I didn't like the hero very much because I really hate attacking with daggers. And
you mentioned that a ton of times in the podcast. You're like, ugh, a 1-card 1?
2 resources for 1 damage with Go Again. That's a bad deal. I hate 2 resources for 1 damage. But, so I was pretty sure I wasn't going to play New. And then when I basically kind of combined some ideas and made the deck, it kind of solves the issue of not having to attack with the daggers, because you can just play Count Your Blessings instead with your extra cards. And I was planning to play Viserai a couple weeks ago, and I spent a lot of time playing Viserai, and basically only tested with Viserai. I kind of locked in early, and then eventually I played like 6 games in a row with Brody on Dio, and I lost all 6 of them. I'm like, I think Dio's gonna be one of the most represented decks. If this matchup's that bad, I really don't want to be doing it. And then on top of just being bad into Dio, sometimes you would take a bunch of damage and your opponent would cast Warmonger's Diplomacy and your hand wouldn't work. So I just didn't want to be in that kind of situation in the tournament where I would take a bunch of damage because my hand's better on offense and defense, and they'd end on Warmongers, and my hand would go from being worth 24 value to being worth 5.
That's almost as bad rate as attacking with a dagger.
That's worse than daggers. That's worse than daggers.
So if we're going to lose the rate anyways, might as well just sack the rate to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about this format as a whole then?
I like the format a lot. I think that it's pretty diverse. There's a lot of decks that are quite good. I think we have New and Enigma as kind of like the slower decks of the format. Enigma's kind of like the illusionist, just doing the permanence thing that has been good in Fab for a long time. And we have New, who's more disruptive and just really interactive and kind of the way I prefer to play Flesh and Blood. And then we have like a bunch of different aggro to mid-range decks that all have different matchup spreads into each other, and that's really cool. I think that's a pretty healthy format. I think there's one small outlier in Dash.io. She's capable of some pretty crazy turns and is a bit stronger than what I think is desirable for the game, but
especially after the book ban.
Yeah. It's like the books got banned, and then Dash presents a 35 damage turn from very little setup.
So what do you think about New's place in that meta then?
So I think New is pretty good into the aggro decks. I think Dash.io, I think Aurora, I think Viserai are all pretty good matchups. They can be shifted a little bit if your opponent's pack Poison the Well. Poison the Well is very good against Count Your Blessings.
Yeah, pretty good against this one right here, which is kind of the point of the deck, right?
Yeah, but if they're not on Poison the Well, I think she's pretty favored in all the aggro decks.
What was, were you just kind of taking a gamble that you're going to pair into people that aren't doing that? Like, what was it, just some sort of like risk reward metric there?
So basically, at the point that I decided to lock in new, my only two options were Viscera and new because they're the only heroes I've been playing. And I was like, I bet there's going to be a lot more Warmonger's Diplomacies than Poison the Wells. So I figured I would take the hero that loses to Poison the Well and not Warmonger's Diplomacy.
That's pretty reasonable. And you
I have
have to do
more
that to
fun.
do well in a tournament sometimes. Take a calculated risk.
Yeah, and I enjoy new a lot more than I enjoy Viscera too.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for showing off your deck that you got top 8 with. Again, congratulations. And that's it for the deck profile. Stay tuned for some more. I'm going to have some more top 8 deck profiles from the World Championships at Osaka. My name's Pheno, signing off.